Up until 2013, the United States government completely denied the existence of a massive military installation in the Nevada desert. Even as commercial satellites captured high-resolution images of its runways, the official stance remained total silence. On the ground, however, the boundaries were fiercely protected. The perimeter was lined with sensors, patrolled by armed guards, and marked with stark warnings that trespassing would be met with deadly force. This heavy security cordoned off a sprawling complex built on a remote dry lakebed within the Nevada Test and Training Range, keeping it entirely isolated from the outside world. When the most powerful military on the planet creates a complete vacuum of information, something is bound to fill it. For decades, the public filled that void with stories of crashed flying saucers, and government scientists reverse engineering alien technology. There is zero credible evidence for any extraterrestrial activity at the site. These theories survived and multiplied solely because of the government's strict refusal to clarify what was actually happening. The declassified records point to a different kind of origin story, one involving specific Cold War requirements and the extreme limits of high-altitude physics. Area 51 was built as a dedicated laboratory for the research, development, and testing of highly classified aircraft and weapon systems. In the 1950s, the Cold War demanded intelligence from deep inside Soviet territory. The solution engineered in Nevada was the U-2, a reconnaissance plane designed to fly at altitudes previously thought impossible. By the 1960s, altitude alone wasn't enough to evade radar. Engineers escalated their designs to prioritize extreme speed, producing the A-12 Oak Cart, a titanium spy plane that could tear across the sky at over Mach 3. Pushing the boundaries of aerospace engineering required human test pilots to operate these volatile, unproven machines under a cloak of absolute secrecy. In their pursuit to outpace enemy defenses, these engineers and pilots inadvertently created visual anomalies in the atmosphere that birthed a modern legend. When civilians in the 1950s and 60s looked up and saw metallic glints moving at 60,000 feet, they simply lacked the context to comprehend it. To them, these craft were unidentified flying objects. The military knew exactly what commercial airline pilots and ground observers were reporting, but they could not correct the public record. Under the strict doctrine of operational security, military officials maintained total silence. Protecting the capabilities of the aircraft and the lives of the pilots was the only priority. The necessity for silence only intensified into the 1970s and 80s as engineers moved away from speed and focused on highly unconventional designs, like the F-117 Nighthawk. Faced with bizarre, angular craft tearing through the desert sky, and a government that refused to acknowledge them, ordinary observers were left to construct their own fantastic explanations. This diagram illustrates why the F-117 looked so strange. Traditional aircraft rely on aerodynamic curves, which cleanly reflect incoming radar waves back to their source and return a strong signal to the enemy. The Nighthawk replaced those curves with flat, faceted surfaces. These sharp angles act like a shattered mirror, scattering the radar energy harmlessly in multiple directions, so nothing returns to the receiver. Validating this new physics of stealth required massive sensor arrays and an isolated testing environment entirely free from foreign surveillance. Area 51 functioned as a fortress for the physics of stealth, shielding these sensitive radar tests from global surveillance to ensure the technology remained a strategic surprise. Operations at the site remain active today, transitioning from the manned surveillance of the Cold War into the development of future classified weapon systems. This modern era focuses on the testing of unmanned aerial vehicles and advanced drone technology, much of which remains hidden behind the same desert perimeter. As these new technologies take flight, the persistent pop culture rumors of aliens provide an accidental yet highly effective cover story. The myth of the flying saucer serves as the ultimate camouflage, keeping public attention glued to science fiction while engineers quietly construct the real future of combat. In the 1960s, the speed and altitude of these American aircraft were so far beyond public comprehension that many observers simply defaulted to an otherworldly explanation. Now, look up at that same airspace tonight. The same engineers are still at work, pushing physics further, developing machinery that we currently lack the imagination to understand. The secrets buried in the Nevada desert are entirely our own, and whatever happens to be flying up there right now, we won't know the truth about it for another 50 years.